Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hello and welcome along to the weekly Racing Post football postcast. I'm Dave Clark of the Racing Post, joined by football betting gurus Dan Childs and Mark Langdon here in the studio. We've also got Malachy Rooney on the line from our friends at Paddy Power. Gentlemen, a lot's been going on. Let's talk Arsenal first, Mark. Unai Emery, what do we think of him and what do we feel about Arsenal next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a safer choice than Mikel Arteta, for sure. In terms of Arteta, it would have been really interesting to have seen how he got on, but it's all speculation and hearsay as to, you know, how much he does at Manchester City and how much, you know, is he a sponge to Pep Guardiola? Could he be the new Pep Guardiola? Emery, I didn't think he did a particularly great job at Paris Saint-Germain, but what he did at Sevilla and Valencia before that is probably more similar to the task he's got at Arsenal. He's just going to coach the team. It's not a dressing room that's as difficult as Paris Saint-Germain. I think he's an all-right manager. I don't think he's up there with Pep Guardiola and you know, Jurgen Klopp. And I think he's in the sort of tier below the very best managers. I think the biggest problem is Arsenal need a lot of players, so it doesn't matter who the manager is. I don't see him finishing in the top 4 unless they bring in a new goalkeeper, at least 2 centre-backs and a central midfielder. So
is that all?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking that in terms of the starting 11. They're not squad players that they need. They're absolute, you know, key first teamers. So that becomes, you know, it doesn't really matter who the coach is, as far as I'm concerned, unless Arsenal really sign some top players. They ain't getting in the top 4.
What about his style of play? I mean, some of his sides have been quite happy to surrender possession. Do we feel that as a... His
Sevilla team did. Yeah. It worked for them, you know, to play on the break. I mean, he said in his interview yesterday he wants to dominate the ball and then win it back quickly. I think that's just a modern way. That's the way most managers want to be. If he's as good as his word, I think it's very interesting for Jose Mourinho, because he becomes, if Sarri goes to Chelsea, he will become the only one of that top 6 that is, you know, a reactive manager rather than a proactive one, and I think that will increase the pressure on him. If Emery's as good as his word, if Sarri comes in, they start playing good football, and United don't, then I think that really will, like I say, turn the screw on Mourinho if he doesn't win things quickly, big things, you know, not League Cups and Europa Leagues.
Well, Malachy, I'm sure Paddy Power got lots and lots of specials. Care to enlighten us? Maybe a Wenger comeback by the end of the season? What have you got for us?
We have a few specific Emery specials for himself. So 11-4 for him to win a trophy in his 4th season at Arsenal. 7-2 to win the Premier League during his career with Arsenal at any point. He's 5-1 to get the axe before Christmas. He's 7-1 to be the Arsenal manager for more than 5 Premier League seasons, and 7-1 to win the Europa League next season.
Well, the Europa League's the one. He's a Europa League specialist, isn't he? He's won 3 in a row with Sevilla.
Dan, what do we think is good success? Or
I think it's probably as good as they could have got at this stage. I think a lot of the supporters of Arsenal might have been a bit concerned with Mikel Arteta due to the lack of experience. You know, wondering. But I suppose after where they've been left after Arsene Wenger in 6th place, a long way adrift, it may have been worth taking a chance. But I don't know. I just think that I agree with Mark really that there's so much surgery that needs to be done to the team. There's the midfield doesn't look right. I mean, Xhaka's been tried and failed in that position in front of the back 4 for 2 seasons now. I think the centre back Koscielny being out for long term with this Achilles injury, he needs replacing. Mustafi hasn't really cut the mustard there, in defence as well. So there's problems there.
Do we think they'll back him and splash the cash?
The talk was about £50 million war chest. I mean, in this day and age, 50 million doesn't get you very far, does it? So sell to buy as well might be part of
the key. Really is the technical director or head of recruit, the Minister who's coming from Borussia Dortmund, who was charged with finding all of the talent that they have unearthed in the transfer market. He's the one that's going out there to try to buy these players on the cheap effectively, and then it's up to Emery to develop them. So it won't be down to him who the signings are, which is what I think one of the reasons why he got the job, because he's not interested in that part of it. So Minister, I think he's director of football or some title very similar to that. He becomes everything to Arsenal really. If he's a failure, Arsenal will fail.
That all points to long term again as well, isn't it? Bringing players in and trying to improve them, and it's a bit different to how they've been doing it for a while now. I mean, they went out in January and got Aubameyang for big money. Ozil's just been put on a contract of around 350,000 a week. To me, there's issues there with the dressing room. If you're suddenly going to bring in hungry players, even if they start to do well, they're going to look across the dressing room at a player on that kind of money, and it's may have problems with harmony there.
Yeah, unrest indeed. Right, quickly, Everton are without a manager. Chelsea look like they're about to be without a manager, and then perhaps quickly with a manager. Malachy, Paddy Power, very short about both Silva and Sarri to get the Everton and Chelsea jobs respectively.
Yeah, so Sarri's actually gone very short there recently. I think he's a very good fit for the job. I really enjoyed the work he did at Napoli. He plays very attacking football and implemented a very good system throughout the team. The only criticism that Napoli fans and anyone who had them back might have of him is that he doesn't rotate very well. He tends to like 12, 13, 14 players max, and he sticks with them for every single game, every week. He won't have the same issue at Chelsea, I wouldn't imagine, because they'll have a lot more depth. But I personally, if I was a Chelsea fan, I'd be very excited to have Sarri get the job. I do think as well the fact that he's left Napoli and they've replaced him with Ancelotti so quickly, I think he might have just said, look, my time is up here. I had my chance to win the league this year. I haven't done it. I would be surprised if they don't give him the job now at this stage.
Looks pretty much weighed in, Mark.
Yeah, you would have thought so. I mean, it sounds like he's turned down Zenit as well, that were offering him a lot of money. I mean, I agree with Malachy really in terms of the style of play at Napoli, probably about as close as you could get to Pep Guardiola in terms of the football that he wants to play, the intensity of his training sessions. I do wonder his lack of English. I mean, he's about as Italian as you could get, really. He hasn't travelled at all. I mean, he's mainly managed provincial Italian clubs. This is a very different job at Chelsea, and that be interesting.
Why would they have gone for him?
Well, because of his style of play. I mean, I think in terms of Abramovich, he's wanted this for a long time, and every time he tries to go down that route, it doesn't work quickly, and then he sacks him and goes back to what he knows best. Mourinho and Conte are winners that get the job done very quickly. I think Sarri, it may just take a little bit of time. That style of play. I mean, Guardiola didn't win the first season at Man City, did he? First time in his career, he went winless. And I don't know if Chelsea have got the patience to say, OK, well, that's, not right off a season, but if it means season 2 and season 3 are better, if he comes in, the World Cup doesn't finish till July the 15th, then the Chelsea's best players are not coming back into the dressing room until the end of July. The Premier League season starts a couple of weeks later. You're changing the whole style of play, probably going back to a back four. I think Sarri will need a bit of time at Chelsea, and time isn't usually what you get. But I mean, he did a fantastic job at Napoli. I don't care that they didn't win the league. He did a brilliant job. They got 91 points, which is truly remarkable. The only team ever in Italian football history to get that many points and not win the league. He's a great coach. I'm not as convinced as Malachy on the fit.
We shall see. Right, let's move on then, because we've got lots of playoff action and a certain Champions League final as well. Let's kick off with the Championship playoff final. Then Malachy, two big sides bidded to sort of make it to the biggest stage of them all, the Premier League, of course, Aston Villa and Fulham. How did Paddy Power price that one?
So in the match betting, Aston Villa at 9-4, the draw is 11-5, and Fulham have shortened into 5-4, and Aston Villa are 6-5 to get promoted, with Fulham at 4-6. And
what's your take on this game yourself?
I'd fancy Fulham here. I actually thought they'd be slightly bigger favourites. I was a little bit underwhelmed by Aston Villa against Middlesbrough. I thought Middlesbrough actually beat themselves. I thought they were really poor. And Fulham, while they do have a tendency to, I don't know, I wouldn't say panic in the big games, but I do think that they would have enough about them, even if they go behind in this game, to come back and win. So for this one, when I've looked at it, I've backed Fulham to get promoted. There's 8-11 out there on that, and if you wanted a longer odd shot, Fulham to come back from behind and win at 14-1.
Dan, we've got fourth place Villa against third place Fulham. A lot's being made of the Wembley experience within the Aston Villa squad. Do you buy into that? Well,
it depends on the whether it's a good experience or not as well, isn't it? I mean, you talk about maybe a couple of the Villa players like Grealish, who played in that cup final a few years ago and they got thumped 4-0. I mean, that's not a good experience. Obviously, you got John Terry, who's had better experiences there. So it might help. But I just think when I saw this match-up, I thought it's a really evenly matched tie. I think. I mean, look at only 5 points between them in the league. The goal difference is 33 for Fulham, 30 for Villa over 46 games. I know Fulham finished better, although they did have a little bit of a drop-off, right towards the end of the season with the kind of fortunate win over Sunderland and the loss to Birmingham. But I think with the semi-finals, I think Fulham's was easier. I think Derby were the weakest of the 4 teams, and they come through it in the end after losing the away leg. I thought Villa and Middlesbrough was more evenly balanced, and I actually thought Villa coped pretty well with that tie. Done the job away from home, and at home, well, that was a 0-0. It was a 0-0 that Villa dominated. Really, they didn't let Middlesbrough breathe or play. They actually were on the front foot for most of that game, and if they'd have took their chances, or if Randolph had not had such a good game, they would have won the second leg as well. So I think Villa are better defensively. I think Fulham are better going forward. Again, it kind of balances out for me there. I think the Jack Grealish spark, he's a match winner. He could be the difference in a tight game. I would price it up tighter, and I think the odds there lead me to Villa are odds against to go up.
Mark, do you concur with that?
No, I like Fulham. I agree that Villa probably are slightly better defensively, but I think that Fulham have got a lot more gears in midfield. I mean, Grealish, I actually went to the league game when Fulham won 2-0 and Villa barely got a kick in the second half. Grealish and Adoma were both missing that day, and that's a big part of their team. So, I mean, maybe couldn't read huge amount into that, but I mean, I thought just like Kearney and McDonald in midfield, I think they've got real Premier League quality in their side already. Fulham, Mitrovic has made a difference to them up front, and obviously, I mean, Dan's mentioned Grealish being sort of, a match winner. I mean, Sessegnon on the left-hand side for Fulham, probably just as likely, or maybe if not more. I mean, since Christmas in the league, Fulham won 18, drawn 5, lost 1. In terms of the second half of the season, once they'd sorted out all their issues off the pitch, that they were about as close to Wolves as you could get. I mean, that they beat Wolves pretty convincingly at Craven Cottage. They came through the semi-final. I wasn't surprised they lost the first leg, given that they'd blown it against Birmingham. Maybe it just took that little bit of recovery time. They were pretty convincing at Craven Cottage. They've been, I think, the best team in the Championship outside of Wolves in the second half of the season. And as long as they can sort of hold their nerve, I think they'll go up.
So the bet for you?
90 minutes Fulham. I mean, I think the longer it goes on, the more I'd be sort of inclined to think that maybe Villa's experience could tell, like extra time or penalties. So I think if Fulham are to win, I think they need to get it done in 90.
Excellent. Right, that game is 5 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. Moving on to a certain Champions League final, 7:45 Saturday evening. Malachy, give us a show then for the big one between Real Madrid and Liverpool, please.
So Real Madrid are favs in this one at 6-5. The draw in 90 minutes is 11-4. Liverpool are 2-1 to win in 90 minutes, and then to lift the cup, Real Madrid are 4-6 with Liverpool 6-5.
And how do you see it?
I don't know. If you had told me at the beginning of the season that Real Madrid would be 8-11 in a Champions League final against Liverpool, I'd have bit your hand off to back it. But I've been looking at it, and I'm not really sure what to think. I think Madrid's route to the final has been a lot more difficult. They've obviously had PSG, Juventus, and Bayern. While they did struggle in large parts of a lot of them games, they still come through them. So I think their grit and determination and probably their experience could be what gets them over the line again. I mean, I was against them last year. I was against them the PSG game this year. I was against them the Bayern game this year. And they just keep winning. They know how to win games even when they don't play that well. You need a little bit of luck to win these competitions when it gets to the final. But that's, if it comes down to a shootout, they've scored 70 goals between them, Madrid and Liverpool, in the Champions League this final. They're over 2.5 goals in the 90 minutes is 1-2, which is the shortest I've ever seen in a Champions League final. I think people are expecting a shootout here. I think if I was a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't be as keen for a shootout as a lot of them are. I think that Madrid, I think they're being underestimated on how good they are going forward. They're both vulnerable at the back, we know that. In terms of bets, I've gone for Real Madrid to win in extra time. It's around the 10-1 mark. I just think that if it is a low-scoring draw, maybe a 1-1, and it does get the extra time, I think Madrid's experience will get them through. And then for a couple of outside bets, I like Casemiro to win man of the match at 18-1. I think he's a bit of an unsung hero for Madrid. He's got man of the match in 2 of their Champions League games so far this season. He's going to be a big player for Brazil at the World Cup. I think he'll be crucial to stopping a lot of Liverpool's counter-attacks. I think it's a hard game to call. I think it's going to be a fantastic match.
Yeah, promises to be a cracker. We've got Zidane versus Klopp, Spain's 3rd against England's 4th. Mark, how do you see it?
Well, I think Klopp's a much better coach than Zinedine Zidane, even though Zidane's going for a 3rd straight Champions League win. I mean, I a bit like Maliki, I've sort of just gone round and round in this game. I mean, my instinct is to want to take Real Madrid on because I think as a team, they're not very good, but individually, this chaotic sort of football seems to suit them quite well, and you know they just produce moments of real quality in the final third. But the amount of chances, particularly that Bayern Munich passed up against them, I mean, you know, ordinarily they would have scored a lot more goals. It was just luck really that they didn't, and if Liverpool get the same amount of chances, with the pace they've got on the counter-attack and the quality and clever movement, I'm inclined to sort of be more with Liverpool and think maybe lay Real Madrid in 90 minutes. You know, and then obviously got the draw on your side. But I think the best bet here is to back both teams to score and over 2.5 goals. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that ordinarily in a Champions League final at around 7-10. But football is changing. I genuinely believe that football is changing in terms of the teams that are dominating. You have a look at the Champions League games this season, everybody, bar Manchester United, really goes on the front foot, tries to win games, and you know, Real Madrid have scored in their last 27 Champions League matches. It's a phenomenal record, and I don't see Liverpool keeping a clean sheet against them. On the opposite hand of that, though, excluding games against Apoel, who are, you know, Champions League minnows, in the last 24 Champions League games, Real Madrid have conceded in 22 of those. So, wow. I mean, they are a team that just get involved in chaotic games. They can't control games, but that seems to suit them. I think it will turn into you know, a shootout. I'm not entirely sure which way to go on the outright market, so I'll go for goals.
What about Klopp's record in cup finals? Not a great one.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a poor record in finals, but I mean, he's mainly been underdogs in a lot of those matches. I mean, you know, he took Dortmund to a final, they lost to Bayern Munich. Well, you know, they probably should lose to Bayern Munich, and when they've lost other cup finals, you know, Man City with Liverpool. I mean, okay, the Sevilla game, maybe that was one that sort of slipped away from them in the second half of that game. But I mean, Mourinho had a great record in cup finals, and then Man United didn't win that game last week. So it's something we talk about, but I don't think it has any impact whatsoever on the game.
Dan, Mark's mentioned could be a goal fest. This
I know
final,
Dan doesn't agree. So
no, I just think that everything has its price, and it is a final, and sometimes in finals the result becomes all important, and they are two teams that like to counter-attack as well. So for me, I think there would be a lot of respect between the two teams. The midfields are capable of playing disciplined. You've got Henderson and Milner in there that can work and give some protection. Casemiro, who's been mentioned. Modric actually can play quite disciplined as well, and Kroos as well. And I think once the game, a team, one or the other goes in front, then that's when the chaos could reign. But I do think it could be a while before that first goal happens. I think there'll be quite a lot of respect, and I just think everything has a price. And the last 20 Champions League finals, 16 of them have been under 3.5 goals. Now the under 3.5 goals price is 4 to 6. So, you know, looking at that statistic there, I know football is changing, but I just think in a final, the result is everything, and the two coaches are not just going to be thinking, you know, attack. They're going to be thinking, how do we stop, you know, what the other team's got going forward. And you've got Bale, Benzema, Ronaldo against the trio of Salah, Firmino, and Mane. Both great forward lines, but I think both teams are going to think, how do we stop that? And I think on the actual who lifts the cup, I would edge towards Liverpool. I'd be led a little bit again by the prices. I've been struggling and wrestling, thinking who will have the edge in this game. I think the forward lines are very evenly matched. Defensively, as has been mentioned, you know, both teams have got their vulnerabilities, and they're both big match teams, aren't they? I mean, you look at we talked about what Real Madrid have done and the overcoming 3 of Europe's giants. I mean, but Liverpool have beaten Manchester City 3 times this season, so they're a big match side as well, Liverpool. And I just think that I'd struggle to pick a winner, and that leads me to looking at those prices and thinking Liverpool to lift the trophy at odds against at 6-5. I'll be much more comfortable on that than Real Madrid at 8-11.
Just quickly on the penalty front, Navas is renowned for being a good spot kick saver. So if it does go to penalties, I think I'd be with Real Madrid if it went to penalties. Just on that factor alone, really. So he did it for Costa Rica, didn't he, in the World Cup? So that might be of interest for in play punters if it goes the distance.
Excellent, good arguments for either side of the goal line there. We're all hoping for an absolute madness 8-all final between those two. Right, we'll head off for a quick break, but we've of course got the League One playoff final and the League Two playoff final to get stuck into.
Success ain't earned, it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Welcome back to the Racing Post weekly football postcast. We're going to tackle Sunday's game at 3 o'clock, which of course is Rotherham against Shrewsbury, that League One playoff final. We've got Malachy Rooney on the line from our friends at Paddy Power. And how did Paddy Power price this one up, Malachy?
So Rotherham are the favs here at 5-4. The draw in 90 minutes is 21-10, and Shrewsbury are also 21-10. And then Rotherham are 8-13 to get promoted, with Shrewsbury outsiders at 6-5.
And where would you be placing your hard-earned in this one?
I've actually tried to look up a lot of stats and stuff for this, and I saw an interesting one that, you know, despite it being a League One playoff final, you would think it'd be quite cagey. 8 of the last 13 League One playoff finals have seen over 2.5 goals. And 6 of those games have seen over 3.5 goals, which surprised me when I saw it. I wouldn't have thought that. That being said, from the little I have seen of the two teams, I wouldn't massively get stuck into the overs here. I know it's a bit of a cliche of so much being at stake, but I think this is a game where I'd probably prefer to wait and see how the first 10-15 minutes goes before I got involved. That being said, if I was to have a bet, I think I'd go for the tie to be decided by a penalty shootout at 5-1 would be what I'd be backing.
Okay, Malachy, fancying it to go all the way. Right, Rotherham, Shrewsbury, 3rd against 4th. Dan, how do we see it?
Yeah, I'm actually edging towards a similar opinion. Originally, the prices have actually moved for this game. Originally, Rotherham were a shade of odds on to win this, to win promotion. I mean, now it's gone to 8-13. I'm not so sure I'd be backing them at that price.
What do we think caused that move, other than what are the reasons behind it?
Some of the arguments I was looking at myself and what I fancied a shade of odds against. I think Shrewsbury had the easiest semi-final. I think Charlton were a little bit of an up and down team this season. They'd even lost 3 of their last 6 games in the run-in. So I think that was a slightly easier semi-final for Shrewsbury. Rotherham against Scunthorpe. Scunthorpe went into that game under Nick Dawes. They were undefeated in 8, so they were on a very good run, Scunthorpe. So I did feel that Rotherham and how strong they were finishing the season. The last 26 games they got 53 points, which would normally put you in that kind of level of taking points. More than 2 points a game would normally put you in automatic contention. So I did fancy Rotherham, but you know, again, you have to look at the prices, and once it's gone to 8-13, I think it will be a tight game. I mean, Shrewsbury don't concede many goals. They've kept 2 clean sheets in the semi-final against the Charlton team that is quite good going forward. That's their strength. So I think it will be tight. I agree with Malachy, and I think the draw 21-10, the game to go to extra time, that looks the best of the prices to me.
And Mark, Shrewsbury's position in the league was probably wholly due to what a magnificent start to the season they had.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they were like 66-1, weren't they, at the start? I had a bit of stick because I've written a few times that they wouldn't get promotion, and now they are, on the verge of it. I think they're being maybe slightly underrated for this game. Initially, like Dan, I did fancy Rotherham, but the move towards them, I think the draw is probably the one to be on here. I mean, Shrewsbury defensively, absolutely brilliant. Henderson, the goalkeeper, on loan from Manchester United, I think is above League One standing. There's no doubt about that. Paul Hurst has got them really well organised. They play a very tight, 4. It's like a 4-1-4-1 formation. They keep the ball pretty well as well. Don't have that much of a goal threat. That would be my concern. If they get behind, I do wonder where Shrewsbury can come back into the game. But they have been to Wembley already once this season. They lost that Football League Trophy final to Lincoln. But I think that can stand them in good stead. You know, they're not there as tourists now. You know, it's just a game. I've seen Rotherham a few times as well. Volks has impressed me quite a lot. I know he can play centre back or in midfield, but I do think that they've got less of an attacking threat now that Kiefer Moore has departed. You know, he scored a lot of goals for them in the first part of the season, then was sold to Barnsley. He was on loan at the time at Rotherham. So I think Shrewsbury will fancy their chances of nullifying Rotherham. Wouldn't be surprised if Rotherham went up, because I think they have got the extra quality, but they may need extra time or penalties. So yeah, the 90-minute draw for me as well.
So draw for you, Dan, just to recap.
Yeah, 90-minute draw as well, yeah.
Draw, and Malachi, well, that's in it to go the distance there as well. Right, we've of course got the League Two playoff final to come, the other side of this.
And it's bought. That's why at Paddy Power, we paid the big bucks for the best tech nerds in the world to develop our new, fastest ever app. Download the new app from the App Store or Play Store now. 18+, begambleaware.org.
Well, hi and welcome to the Racing Post weekly football postcast. Is of course the bank holiday Monday, the League Two playoff final on Monday, 3 p.m. kickoff. Joined on the line by Malachi Rooney from our friends at Paddy Power. Malachi, how do Paddy Power see this one going?
So Coventry are favourites here, 13-10. The draw is 21-10, and Exeter are 9-4. And then in the to be promoted betting, it's 8-13 for Coventry and 6-5 for Exeter.
And what about yourself?
It seems to be a lot of similar prices in the playoffs and the Champions League. For me, in this game, I wouldn't have a massive opinion on the match betting. I see Coventry have shortened in just this morning again. Just from talking to the lads in the office, there's a kid that plays for Coventry, Tom Bayliss, 19-year-old, 26 appearances, and he's hitting form. He's 3 goals in his last 5. So what I've been recommended to bet in this one is Tom Bayliss, first goal scorer, 11-1.
11-1, nice big price. Dan Charles from the Racing Post.
Yeah.
How do we see this one?
You know, I've put Tom Bayliss up for the semi-final, but he scored the last goal for the playoff semi-final. But he is a real talent, and there's quite a few high division scouts been watching him. But I think the match betting is actually wrong here. I don't think there's much to choose between the teams. I mean, Exeter finished 4th in the league. Coventry was 6th. I mean, there was I think 5 points between them at the end of the season, and Exeter have come into, started to play well at the right time, and there's been reasons for that as well. The captain Jordan Moore-Taylor, who was out for a few months in the winter, has come back just at the right time at the end of the season. Played a big part in them. They got a clean sheet at Lincoln in the 0-0 draw in the first leg. Played in that game. Then they beat Lincoln 3-1 at home, which I wasn't surprised at. They also got Ryan Harley, who's one of the best technical players at that level as well. He's come back right at the end of the season. He scored in the second leg as well in the 3-1 win over Lincoln. I think, looking at the teams, I would say they've got the edge. Now, I think one of the main reasons Coventry have been so well backed is people looking at the crowd, and they will have a big advantage in the stands. There's Coventry, a well supported club. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised if there's 40,000 Coventry fans there. Exeter are not going to take anywhere near that level of support. I think that is influencing the betting. Look at Coventry's, I know they won 5-2 on aggregate, but they had got a lot of decisions went their way in the first leg. Penalty that was given to them right at the end of the 1-1 draw at home to Notts County was an appalling decision. In the second leg, there was 2 big offsides that went their way. Notts County's equaliser in the tie was given offside when it wasn't. There was 2 players playing him onside. And then Coventry had gone up the other end and scored a goal to put them 2 ahead that was also should have been offside. So they got a lot of the rubber to green in that tie, and I think they're being overrated. Exeter for me, just to win on the 90 minutes, I think it's a great bet at 9-4.
Do you think that crowd factor is a big factor?
I think it is a factor, but not as much to skew the betting to the extent it is. I do believe that having 2-1 or 3-1 advantage in the crowd is an advantage, but not to that extent.
What if we all get on and jump in the Exeter end and maybe even it up?
Yeah.
Right, Mark, how do we see this one?
Well, I agree to some extent about the crowd, being a factor in the market, but I also think the shot stats over the season are definitely playing a part here. I mean, Coventry was second in shot on target, shot ratio, so share of match shots, and you have a look at the other teams that were right up there in that statistic. Wycombe got promoted, Lincoln went out in the semi-finals to Exeter, Luton got promoted with the best team in the division, and Accrington were champions, and that was the top 5 in the shots on target stats. Exeter trailed way down 0.51, not much above league average, and then in shot ratio, so just share of match shots, not necessarily on target, Coventry again second, and Exeter 0.45. Only 3 teams in the whole division were lower than that. Crewe, Forest Green and Yeovil, so 3 real strugglers. So I think that's definitely playing a part in the market, but this is a one-off game.
I was just about to say, we've got a huge form guide the whole season, but it is a cup final. How much do you weigh that up as a punter?
I think that most punters would still just say, well, I'd rather have 46 matches of shot stat data and bet on that. But I was looking, if Coventry are going to have more of the shots, which over the season it looks like that they will do. I think McNulty is by far the most likely player to open the scoring. Stockley for Exeter scored a load of goals this season, but could come down to those two, and I thought McNulty to open the score. And I saw him play at Crawley a couple of weeks ago, and they stuck him out on the left wing for some unknown reason, put him through the middle second half, and he was a much bigger threat. I think he's a real quality player. Bayliss is languid playmaker, got a lot of ability, but I think he's sort of somebody that sees a pass and can slip McNulty in. I'm backing him to score first. I think that Coventry, I would like to be with them, but I think the market's probably moved too far that way. So like I say, I'll go for their main goal threat to get the opener.
So to recap, your bet for that game?
Mark McNulty to score first.
And Dan?
Yeah, Exeter on the 90.
Excellent. Right then. Well, we've got plenty of action this weekend, so let's get the boys' best bet of the weekend.
This will not be beaten.
Mark, you have the honour.
I'm going to go for, I don't fancy anything really, Dave, but I'm going to go for Fulham to win the Championship playoff final in 90 minutes. They've won 18 games since Christmas in the league. I think they're a class act. If they go up, we'll finish comfortably a clear of relegation next season in the Premier League.
OK, so we'll go a tentative pick for Fulham from Mark there. Dan?
I'm going to go, I think Exeter are way overpriced to win in 90 minutes at 9-4. I think, as I mentioned, Ryan Harley and Jordan Moore-Taylor made a big difference in the last couple of games, and I think they can help them win promotion. OK, Malachy, complete our treble for this weekend.
I'm going to go for a bigger price selection in the Champions League final. I'm going to go for Kyler Navas to be booked in 90 minutes at 12-1. I think it's massive price considering if they're ahead by a goal or two going into the last 10-15 minutes, he's sure to time waste, and for that reason alone I think it's massively overpriced.
Excellent stuff. Right then, we will be back with postcasts and live shows for the duration of the World Cup. Kicking off with, this is a date for your diary, we've got a preview postcast Thursday the 7th of June. Special live show on that evening with Bruce Millington, Mark here, Nick Goff and Ray Parler across all of our social channels, so do keep an eye out for that. If you do enjoy listening to our postcards, which of course you do, make sure you rate, review and subscribe on iTunes.
Follow Paddy Power on Snapchat. The username is ThePaddyPower, and we promise there won't be any boring snaps about gigs, the weather or the gym.